Hey, welcome back. We have a new show. I decided to do something different.
Yeah, I was wondering, you just-
You can
you're
call me
just
Jack
sitting
in the
in the
Box. The last episode, I had my name on the screen, and Leslie reminded me, hey, I thought we were supposed to take our name off the screen. So I thought, well, I'll be Jack in the Box and just pop in here. My name is Jeff Harrison, and you're
You're
with
not scared of
us
those
on the Twisted, Bent, and Exhausted Entrepreneur podcast. This is like episode 3, season 2. So it's like 50 plus episodes. And again, my name is Jeff Harrison, along with my co-host.
Oh, Leslie
Oh,
Sport.
wake up, Leslie. Sorry. That's the only downside about not being in the same studio. I can't like nudge you. I have to like
Well, I
yell
was
into
thinking,
Leslie.
where my brain was is I was thinking that, we're supposed to like give a scenario of what the up front about what this particular podcast is about, so that people know right away whether they relate to it or not, and whether they want to stay and listen to more, which of course they always do. They want to listen to all of it. But then I was always thinking, well, we never say like, subscribe, do all that stuff like a lot of videos do. If you like this, smash that like button. And then I think, should we be doing that? These are all the things that are going through my head while you were doing the intro.
There we
Should
go.
we be doing that? I don't know.
Well, here's a cool thing about it is the algorithms they work now is on attention. So you don't even have to subscribe to somebody's channel to still get them in your inbox. So if you watch us one time on YouTube or on Spotify, what will happen is you'll show up in the inbox. The only difference is when you subscribe, you'll get notifications that we have another episode that's dropped. That's the big difference. And it does feed the algorithms a little bit, but at the bottom line is, hey, if you show up and you give us your attention, that's a good sign.
Okay. I did not know that.
Yeah. So speaking of attention, let's talk about focus today.
Oh my God.
This is what we're going to talk. I love how these things just segue. It's like I feel like I'm in a 440 relay and you just handed me the baton so smoothly and we just took off. So the myth of more focus is like sometimes people say, don't you just need to be more focused? Don't you need better discipline? Why you don't need better discipline? You need fewer decisions. Oh my God, is that true?
Oh, that's so true. Oh, sorry.
Jeez, here we are again. Leslie's tired. It's early.
No, I ate a marshmallow before we started this, and now the sugar's going.
Wow, I thought it was because something that as you look at my windows here, it looks pretty bright, but it's because it's still during the day, but it's like that cloudy day, and I think sometimes that makes us a little sleepy. It's we're used to bright sunshine out here in the desert, yeah.
Well, and I didn't open my windows yet today, so
that's it. Well, that would help. A little sunshine goes a long ways. But let's talk about this. The myth of more focus. What do you think that means? Is like, hey, you just need to be more focused.
I think you need to be the focus. When they talk about focus, they mean on the tasks or the to-dos that are relevant, that only you can do, right? And I don't mean things that you're reluctant to train somebody else to do because you think, oh, it's faster if I do it myself. It's the things that only you can do: in-person networking, marketing, writing articles that are in your voice. Although you can get other people to write articles, and they're usually really good because they've taken the time. Like the stuff that you create sounds just like my stuff, so I'm not concerned about that. But a lot of people can't even write anything, so there's you have to focus on those things that need you and your attention, not busy work, not things that can be delegated. I think that's what they mean by this, or that we mean by this.
Yeah, yeah, I'll give you an example. For some of you maybe not know, I used to play golf for a living, and I was in the golf industry for a long time. And there would be 2 different people early on that would show up. The guy, me, who played at the country club regularly and loved the game of golf and played really well. But then I played in a tournament. It's like, oh, I've got to be really focused. Like, don't talk to people. Keep your head down. And it was like, it didn't allow me to be me. I didn't need to be more focused. I need to be more of who I was instead
Right.
of this imagination where I have to be really, really focused. Well, I think to me that, Leslie, that's what that means is to me is like, you don't need more focus. You just need to be better disciplined and you need to make fewer decisions. And
Wait, you said that backwards, right?
no,
You said
no,
you need to be better disciplined. It just says you don't need better discipline.
excuse me, you don't need better discipline. You need fewer decisions.
There you go.
Okay. So, like, I know for yourself, there used to be a time where, and we have another episode, I don't know, it's like 40, 47 or 48 of season one that talks about, why businesses don't grow. And it's because we are the, has to come through us.
The bottleneck.
There was a time in your business where it was like everything was through you.
Yeah.
How did you go from being the bottleneck and having to make every decision to saying, yeah, I work about 4 hours a week now?
Well, part of it was practicing what I preached to everybody else. In all seriousness, it really was.
Took your own medicine?
Yeah, I took my own medicine because I talked to people about how to stop being a bottleneck and help educate them on how to do it, but I wasn't doing it. So that was a big piece of it, was to practice what I preach. And then the other part of it was I got an office assistant who forced me to let go of things. Forced me. Now, in all fairness, she's my daughter. So she held more sway than somebody who I just hired, and she's like, you have to stop doing this. This is ridiculous. You don't need to have your hands in every little piece. Oh, excuse me, my nose. Does that mean something? Am I getting money? I don't know.
I think that's what that is.
Or my allergies. So she would just force me to give up a lot of things. And in hindsight, the things that she, I would say, encouraged instead of forced, encouraged me to give up, I literally did not need to be doing.
Mm.
And the other thing that she made me aware of, and awareness is 90% of the battle. We've talked about that before, that when you're aware of either bad behavior or misaligned behavior, you can do something about it. And one of the things she pointed out to me was that I was so tightly the face of my business that the other people that work for me were kind of invisible. Like clients only came to me for stuff, even though our business model is such that we dedicate individuals. My employees have a suite of clients that they work for, and their goal is to make every client feel like the only client.
Oh,
but that's kind of hard to do when the clients come to me with questions or requests for things or whatever. So I was heavily involved. And then that lends itself to micromanaging, because now I'm like, all these things have to be done and I'm panicked about whether or not they're getting done. Right. So by letting go and moving the focus from me to them and letting them interface with the client and letting them and trusting them. This is a big part of delegation, trusting them to follow the procedures and to do what they're supposed to do was a huge, big step for me. So I needed to make fewer decisions in my business in order to extricate myself from being the only face of the business, which then freed up my time and allowed me to focus on those things that are really the most important for growing my company, which in my case is in-person networking, on-site meetings and presentations and schmoozing, I guess, if you will, that, you have to get out there and talk to people and build your brand. Even though I've been in business 20 years, even though people know who I am, it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind.
Yep.
Right. And the only person that can really do that is me. Now, I do have people that work for me that can do in my stead, but nobody sells it like I do. So that's where my focus has to be. And so that's a big change. And it's a big change. And we fall into it kind of naturally. You do the same thing. You start building your company. You've been doing it for years. You're making all the decisions. You're the pure and solid face of your company. You think nobody can do it as good as you can, which in my case, I never thought of it that way, but behavior would indicate otherwise. Right. So, you have to, I call this the keep, sell, or throw away mentality, which is what tasks do I have that I have to do? What tasks do I like to do, but somebody else could do them? And what do I not need to be doing at all and get rid of them? And then that reduces the amount of decisions you make on a daily basis. And then that allows you to focus more. So it's kind of a intertwined, if you will, the whole process is intertwined. I'm sure you find that to be so in your business as well.
Well, I'm gonna take a little bit different path on this. I think why you don't need better discipline, you need fewer decisions. And I think something that you've talked about, and I'm shocked you didn't say it. You probably implied it. Is, and I'm just going to turn your mic off just for a second. Is something that policies and procedures in place allows whoever you have working for you to make decisions without you as you. And I think that is something that helps. And, that is, when I see this, I think, I don't need to be more focused on being in my business. I need to create systems that will run without me. And the people that I put in place can make decisions just like you have done with your staff. You have given them, policies and procedures, and I love this. You encourage them. Hey, if you make a mistake, it's not a mistake. It's an opportunity to create a new policies and procedures, because that means now you won't have to go back and say, when this happens again, I have to make a decision. No, you have the policies and procedures in place. So I think that's one of those hidden gems in this particular thing that says, yeah, you can actually make fewer decisions by having your game plan in place. I was thinking, watching the football games, because now we're in playoff situation and whatnot, and it's like they're looking at the quarterback is looking at that item on his arm, and it's all the plays. But then they'll shoot over to the head coach, the cameras will, and they'll say, well, they have a design set of 12 plays that they do, or 8 plays, whatever, it doesn't matter the number. They have specific plays they play with when they start with this game. So they already know exactly what's going to happen. So the coach is now not having to make any decisions. The quarterback doesn't have to decide. It's already been decided for him. And so what happens is it opens up their mind and their focus to really be on other things. So I think from that standpoint, that's what I'm thinking about. And so let's go to the next one. And while Leslie, as she's dealing with some solar issues, so she might have people coming in and out. So if she dives out, we'll come back. This one I think is pretty interesting. Why willpower collapses. And she's back. Let's see if the dog is. Oh, it's quiet again. So why willpower collapses under constant context switching. It says if we are interrupted throughout the day, okay, so let's say she's in her office and all of a sudden this happens. Somebody comes in and says, hey, Leslie, can I ask a question real quick? It says it takes us 40 minutes to get back into that same level of focus as we did before. And so what happens is when you have to switch context, so like, hey, I was working on creating this, and then somebody knocked on the door. I answered that. I'm context switching. And all of a sudden, it's like after 2 or 3 of those, your willpower to go back deep into that, I think, starts to collapse. So that's how I look at this, why willpower collapses under constant context switching. And if you didn't see this in our last episode, we said you need to build a focus container, a time during your day. And it could be where you say, hey, I'm going to take my laptop, I'm going to take my tablet, and I'm going to go to a coffee shop that I know is quiet at 2 o'clock in the afternoon from 2 to 4. That's my time. No one knows me in there, and I can be in my focus container, and nobody's going to interrupt me.
As long as you turn off your phone.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. So, but just giving yourself an example. So that's why when I say willpower collapses under constant context switching, what is your thought about that? Is it different from what I explained, or there's more there?
No, no. First of all, it was a ghost at the door. There's nobody out there, and the doorbell's rung twice. So I don't know what's going on.
Freaky.
And then, of course, then the dog goes crazy. No, I agree with you. I heard you talk about policies and procedures as a way to offload tasks, and I just didn't feel like we had gotten there yet, but you're absolutely correct on that. Willpower, I was going to tell you that I hate to admit this. It's really, really bad. And probably you'll use it against me at some
Like truth
point.
serum here.
Oh, so bad. Sodium pentothal, right? Is that what this is?
That's
That was
it.
in my water bottle? I'm not
That's
sure.
it.
No, I get these alerts on my phone that tells me how many minutes a day I spend on the phone. Do you see those? The other day it was 12 hours average.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That and in my defense, what that really is I can't sit and watch TV at night without doing something else. It's impossible. So either I have to get up and down and do stuff around the house, or I play games on my phone. It's just a mindless thing that I'm trying to watch a program, but I can't do one thing at a time. I'm sure that's an ADHD type issue. I'm not sure. But when I saw that 12 hours, I thought, oh my God, that's ridiculous. You know,
That's insane.
yeah. And I know a lot of it is me on the phone for work and stuff, but a lot of it is just doom scrolling or games or whatever. And so, yeah, the more you get distracted, the easier it is to get stuck into something like a game or Pinterest or Instagram or, TikTok. It's really easy to get sucked up in there. They're designed to keep you sucked up in there because they're so quick, and almost all of them are like clickbait. And by the way, I'm really specific. Okay. I have cooking, I have crafting, I have decorating things for me for entertainment because that's what I like. I'm not following celebrities. I'm not,
No
into
cat videos.
no, Dan likes the cat videos, but no, not too much on the cat videos. But most of mine is stuff that I'm interested in otherwise. But even still, it's not work related. And it is you look at one and all of a sudden you look up and you've lost an hour.
Or you've lost the sun because
Or
it's
you've
now
lost the
nighttime.
sun. Yeah. And the same thing happens with, I'll be working on a project. It's like I don't like to leave my office during the day, which you have to do quite often if you're trying to do in-person networking. But the minute I leave, it throws I feel like I'm not productive for the day because I got up and interrupted my routine. And I start early. I start consistently at like 5 a.m, 5 or 6. And then I try to quit about 2 because I got a couple news programs I like in the afternoon. And I got to make dinner and all those things that all of us normal people have to do. So the ability to stay focused, you're calling it willpower, but the ability to stay focused when you get constant interruptions is really a challenge.
Well, can you see, Leslie, that almost as like you have this self-perpetuating situation where you're having challenges watching an entire program without disruption because you're feeding it disruption when you feel that urge to get up. And it's almost like, wow, what would happen if you turn that around and said, okay, I'm going to stay in place and I'm going to be here with Dan and that program. I'm going to watch those 42 minutes and the 12 minutes of commercials, and I'm not going to get up. Would that start breaking that and developing willpower? Because I know you're the type of person, hey, you can put your head down and you can go nonstop for a long period of time. But it seems like with these constant interruptions, it's almost one feeding the other into shorter attention spans.
Yeah, I haven't really done any self-awareness analyzing of this,
Coaching session.
but I came aware of it when I saw the tag on my phone. When I saw 12 hours, I was like, how in the hell did I fit in 12 hours to be on this phone? I don't even know if
Wow.
that's possible.
I
You know,
freak out
but
when it's like 2 hours and 30 minutes. I'm like, and I'm in the business. I'm in
yeah,
the information online
I
business, and I
know.
don't spend that much time on
I
it.
I know. So a lot of it is me doing something else at the same time that I'm doing that, but that doesn't mean that it's productive time. You know, Dan's philosophy, my husband's philosophy is always you can't do two things at once and do them both well.
Yep.
Now, I disagree with that only because I have 97,000 tabs open at once and I jump back and forth and I'm really good at what I do. But he's not wrong. You can't do three at once. I can guarantee you that. Have you ever been driving and on the phone at the same time and show up at some
I
place?
don't drive while I'm on the phone.
Well,
Or yeah, I'm on the phone to
even with
drive.
hands free, you know?
Well, I do then most of the
That's what I'm
time.
saying.
Who calls anymore? Usually it's a text.
Well, I don't do text while I'm driving, but if
My
I'm on the
phone.
phone, you know, all of a sudden I'm somewhere and I don't know how I got there.
Mm,
When I'm doing the driving, I feel like I'm paying attention to it. I really do. But your brain can't really process both of those complex functions at the same time. And it's the same with business. You know, when you're trying to do, you get a phone call to take care of something, and then you've got to go back to where you were. And a good example of this is if I'm using AI, for example, and I'm on a roll, right? I'm using the prompts, I'm getting information that I want, I'm copying and pasting it out and saving it right away so I don't lose everything. And I'm in the zone, right? And then I get a phone call or something happens and I have to leave my office. Now I got to go back to it. I sometimes can't remember even the stuff that I saved,
yeah.
right? Or where I was in the now I tell my AI save everything up to here, and what it'll do is say, okay, now you can say resume working on this, and it'll bring it back, or at least it'll bring back the understanding of it. It will not recover the actual documents, but it will understand the logic and the learning that it got from it, which is helpful. So
Here's a quick thing for you that will
sure,
help you.
sure,
If you'll create projects when you're doing that, it has the memory, and you won't have to re-educate it every time, and it'll save everything you need it to do.
that's what I'm doing now because you told me that last time I complained about this.
All right.
So yes, I do.
I think the big thing I want you as the listener or the viewers to catch on this is when you are interrupted or you have multiple things going on, it just takes you longer to get back, even though it might have only been a 15 to 30-second disruption or interruption. It will take you 40 minutes to find that same level of focus and concentration, and eventually it will erode your willpower to finish that task. Just like Leslie said, hey, if I had to go away for a while, come back because I was forced to leave and leave the office and come back, I can't even remember what I was wanting to do because I
Right.
was interrupted, but it was important at the time. That's the
Right.
wild part. So be
Yeah.
aware of that.
Yeah. And we all suffer with that, by the way.
The next one is the neurological. This is a big word for me. Neurological cost of running a business with no default answers. What the heck does that mean?
I don't know. I don't understand what you're trying to tell me here. What is this?
It just says it's going to drive you crazy because you don't have any guardrails. You know, you've forever stay in your lane, stay in your lane. That's default answers. But if I don't, especially today with how broad digital marketing has become and AI and automation and all that stuff, that I would be a basket case. Well, I'm worse than I am now if I didn't have some guardrails and with some default answers. No, I don't do that. Yes, I know how to do it, but I don't want to do it. Yes, I can do that, but I don't have time to do that. You need
So
to
you're
go
talking
see
about
somebody else.
boundaries. Boundaries.
Yeah, basically, of running a business with no default answers. Everything is yes.
Yeah, that's something that all business owners need to learn, that no is an acceptable answer. Most people are afraid to say no, especially in the early years.
Why is
They-
that?
Because they're eager to build their business and to get revenue in, and sometimes that's their only source of revenue. It's not like they've got two incomes in the household, and so they put all their eggs in one basket, and they need to bring in revenue. And so when somebody calls and they ask for something, they want to say yes. And you know, you have to stick with you're right. You have to stick with Stick in your lane. And by that, in this context, I mean, know who your ideal client is and only say yes to those people. Know what services or products you offer and only say yes to those. Like we talked in the last episode, don't be willing to modify your contracts or your business model just because somebody challenges it. You have to stick with it, because no client, anybody who wants to challenge the way you do business and doesn't respect how you've designed your stuff is not your ideal client. You know, I had a guy talk about boundaries. I had a guy, used to be a bigwig for a major warehouse company, and a nice guy. Came from the old school, management by intimidation. I recognized him right away. That's how I grew up in aerospace. All the management at that time was management by intimidation. And so when I went to see him about signing up with us, the first thing he did was he set me in a chair and stood over me, which is a
Oh
classic
boy,
intimidation tactic.
our
So when
position.
Yeah. So when that happened, because I recognized it, I unfolded my arms and put him on my chair. And so I opened up reception to him so that I wasn't defensive, because if you're defensive, they win right away. So you don't want to be defensive. And I put both feet on the floor and I looked at him and I said, he goes, I just want you to know that I absolutely think you're brilliant for the business model you've created, but I absolutely hate it. And I'm like, okay. He didn't want to prepay for hours because he wanted to pay in arrears, because he didn't trust that he wouldn't get what he paid for. Yeah. That's his issue. That is not my issue. And my model is that you prepay for a minimal amount of hours, and then anything over that we bill in arrears. But you need to have some skin in the game as far as I'm concerned, right? Yeah. Because we're selling time. And once time is gone, you can't get it back. It's like gasoline credit cards. I would never have a gasoline credit card, because at the end of the month you get this bill, but nothing to show for it because you've already spent it all, right?
You're out of gas.
Yeah. So I just kind of really hated the idea of that. It's kind of the same thing. So he was like trying to intimidate me to change my business model for him, and I refused to do it.
Good for you.
And so ultimately he signed up with us, and he was very happy with the services, but he couldn't get over the fact that he had to prepay. And every time I run a renewal of his account, I would hear from him. Finally, it just became too much for him, and he ended up canceling the service because he just could not get over that. But he thought I was brilliant for coming up with the concept and putting that in as my business model. He just didn't personally like it. So, those are the guardrails that you're talking about. You have to stick with what you've decided to do. That doesn't mean that you don't deviate on occasion. Sometimes people have better ideas. Sometimes there's new directions to take your business. There's new products to add. There's new services to add. That's all okay as long as it's within the umbrella. I think we talked about this last week, about the umbrella of your business. But to modify a contract or take on a client that your instincts tell you is wrong for you will end up in nothing but heartache, misery, and lost funds. It doesn't work. The same. Yeah, it's, sure. I'm sure you've taken on a client or two in your time where you've said, including me probably, that says, this is not ideal for my market, right? And then they give you nothing but grief.
Yeah. And when I realized that, I'd had somebody with me for about 6 or 8 months. And I had a meeting with them and I said, I just don't think this is working out. And they said, well, we're really happy. I said, well, that's only one of us. And I said, for what I charge, it's not worth it. I said, I think you're a wonderful person, blah, blah, blah. But I said, this isn't working out for me. And it was a tough decision because they were a pretty big client, but I said, it isn't working out. It's just not worth the grief.
Yeah, there's some people you can't ever make happy. Now, if you're clear in who your ideal client is and you're clear about how you want to run the business, which is very important, and then you can stick with it, then you're okay. But what you're seeing here about the neurological cost is there is an emotional drain on you when you do stuff that doesn't align with your intentions.
Yeah, when the phone rang and I know that person was, I'm like, oh God,
Right.
what's it going to be now? And it's just, it's too tough. It's too tough. Hey, I just want to remind everybody, if you just joined us, or just even if you're listening, like, what are we talking about? We're talking about the myth of more focus. You know, the myth is why you should be more disciplined. No, it's why you don't need better discipline. You need fewer decisions. And that's what we're talking about here. And part of it is first of all, you know, creating a situation so you're not context switching, and then also creating some guardrails, what you're doing. And this next one I love, because you kind of alluded to it when we first opened up, how high performers design decision removal, not motivation. And it makes me think of like, hey, Elon Musk has the same 24 hours that we do, whether you like him or you don't. But this guy is going to Mars. He's got he's got the data centers. He's got SpaceX. He's got the boring machine. He's got Tesla. Robot. I mean, how does he do it? And I think it's because he's removing a lot of decisions. What do you think?
I agree. The only way that you can, and if you think about it, by the way, just to talk about Elon Musk for a minute, if you look at all of his products and his businesses, they all align with going to Mars, including 100%. The robots. You know, it's really interesting when you sit back and you look at it, it goes, oh, all of this is intended to get him to Mars.
Well, he just recently said, hey, the first mission to Mars will be through Optimus robots. It won't be with people, because
exactly.
They're so, the restraints or constraints are so less with robots than they are with humans.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So the only way that you can be a high performer and have that many things going on at once and be successful at it. I mean, you can have them going on and totally fail, but to be successful at it is you have to figure out, again, the same thing I talked about previously, is what do you have to do? You know, if Elon has a investment decision to make, I'm sure he's involved, right? But if you get down to the lower level of running the factory floor, that assembles robots, which are probably being done by robots, okay, is he assuredly has policies and procedures, and he assuredly has company guidelines that he has people who ensure that those are being followed. Because he can't be down at that level, right? If you want to be successful, and he's got to be whatever you think of him, he has to be a good leader, because that philosophies and attitude run downhill. And I have worked in companies in aerospace where the highest people in the company were just total jerks. And everybody was disgruntled and nobody was happy, and it was a miserable place to go to work. Whereas if you walk into it, because this is when I was consulting, but if you walk into a facility where the person at the top is good and wants people to do well and is generally interested, you find that people are happier and they do better at their jobs. Most people want to do a good job. So I think that if you want to be able to have a high output, then you have to decide what are those things that really matter, that you're involved in the decisions.
I just had this thought. I'm going to write it down because I think it's a tweetable moment. Is you cannot be the vision of your company if you remain in the basement. In other words, if you stay in the menial tasks day to day, you cannot build your company. You have to move to the higher floors and let those others operate so you can see the vision of the company. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Totally makes sense. I don't know about the basement because I get the analogy, but other people, or metaphor, whatever the hell it is, but other people might not right away, but I totally get that. And I'm sure I told this on here before, but when I started my executive errands company, as soon as I got one client, I hired somebody, because I know myself, I needed, again, you're selling time. So you need to be able to establish the hierarchy that says this person has to be paid. And if it was me doing the work, A, I would give all the time away, and B, clients would start to get too familial with me and then not want to pay for the service. Kiss of death in my industry is you're like family to me.
Mm.
That's the worst because now they want favors. And so um, I instantly put that structure in place and we've just built on that. It's a slower build to be sure. But then it also eliminates me being the bottleneck too early on. Eventually I became the bottleneck anyway, which is what we talked about in the beginning about how I had to uh, walk the talk. And I also had to give up a lot of things, that a lot of decisions that I was making that were not necessary for me to make. And that
Well,
completely changed everything.
I think that ties right into this next line, which is the difference between being busy and being cognitively occupied.
Yeah. Busy is I hate the word busy. I mean, I don't hate much, but I hate that word. People use it as a crutch. I'm too busy. I'm too busy. I'm too busy. Busy doing what?
Yeah.
Right. When I do my 5 days, I get people to do a time study, even if it's just one day. I'd rather see them do it for a week, but even if it's just one day, an analysis of where you're spending your time tells me a lot about why they're the bottleneck and what we can do to fix it. Because um, just like my phone tells me I've been on there for 12 hours, what the hell was I doing on there for 12 hours?
Mm.
What would that have been better spent reading a business book or making more phone calls to bring in help? Now, granted, a lot of it's at night. Okay, in my defense, a lot of it's at night. A lot of it's early in the morning before I start my day. I get up at 3 or 4. I don't start till
Wah,
like
wah, wah, wah,
stop.
wah.
I just feel so guilty about 12 hours. I haven't even told Dan about that
I'm not
yet.
sure I'd ever admit that on the air. Now you're telling thousands of people about that,
I
but
know. Well,
yeah,
this is real life. We're talking
right.
about real life and being a business owner and how easy in this episode, we're talking about how easy it is to get distracted. And
Yeah.
so the word busy, people wear it like a badge. I should get a t-shirt that says I'm the busy person, because
Look at the badge.
get the badge. I'll make badges that say, oh, there's another opportunity. Make a
Yeah.
busy badge because busy is not productive necessarily. It could be, but is it? Did you do the analysis to decide if busy is actually productive and furthering the goals of your business? See,
You know,
to me, it seems like you're always working on your business, right?
yeah, because I am, and sometimes I'm working I'm working in my business on a client's business. And sometimes I have a hard time separating those good, like thinking, I sometimes think if I would work as hard on my business as I do, I'll use example as executive errands, where would I be?
Don't say that.
But I look at this and say, but they have hired me, they paid me, and I want to make sure we are over delivering
Right.
what they expect. So yeah, but I do feel, I'm not, I do have my moments because my phone says about 2.5 hours a week that
A week?
yeah, or two
Mine
and a
was
half
a
hour, an
day.
average of 2 hours, two and a
Oh.
half hours a day, excuse me, of being on my phone, um, and going through the apps. But this reminds me of a story, and I'm gonna butcher it, but you'll get the concept. There was a rowing team, and let's say, they were Harvard rowing team, and they were the worst. So they brought in a new guy and they said, let's do this. Let's examine everything we do. And if it's not making our boat go faster, then let's set it aside. Let's not do it. And sometimes I wish I had on my board I have a chalkboard over here that should remind me, Jeff, is this making your boat go faster? If
Mhm.
not, set it aside. And I think that's what we're talking about here between
Right.
cognitively occupied or I'm just busy. Hey, with
Right.
me watching the football games or me watching a golf tournament or a pickleball match, is this making and it doesn't have to be business, it could be life, but we're talking about business here. Is it making my business go better? If the answer is no, then maybe I shouldn't be doing it.
Well, but let's have some balance. Okay. I'm doing a timeout sign.
Okay.
You're
I thought you were,
entitled.
give me a finger or something.
No, I would never do that. Only my husband gets that luxury. No, he doesn't do that. No, the you're entitled. Part of the whole point of owning There's something flying around in here. I don't know what it is. But part of the whole point of owning your own company is that you have some autonomy and freedom. I always talk about working on your business instead of in it. Working on it is cognitively occupied. Working in it is busy, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
And
All right.
and so you've earned the right to have time to watch a game or go to a movie or go out to dinner. I mean, there has to be boundaries on and balance between the business and your life. And I know you're as bad as me, because we text each other on the weekends and you're programming and learning something new and doing something else. And I am too. I'm sitting at my desk. Now, I'm really lucky that I have a husband who knows I'm a workaholic and doesn't object to that. And your wife's good too about it. But for most people though, they need to, for all of us, need to separate and go do that. My grandma used to say, when I was really poor and young, she would say, I'd feel guilty if I went to the movies. And she said, look, you sacrifice so much trying to get ahead that it's okay to have fun once in a while. It really is. And so I've never forgotten that. That's probably 40 years ago. And I have never forgotten it, because we all deserve that. That's the whole point. Life only goes through one time. Well, unless you reincarnation, but that's a whole other topic. Basically in this consciousness, it goes through one time. Okay. So you want to make the most of it. And that doesn't mean drudgery all the time. It just needs that you need to be aware of the difference in what you're doing and whether it's furthering. Like, I've got a stack over here of papers, of phone calls I need to make to do speaking engagements and stuff. And I keep setting it aside saying, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. And really today is tomorrow. I need to do it now. And that for me, this whole podcast is reminding me that I need to have a focus period that says all I'm doing is making phone calls.
Shut the door.
Yeah.
Turn off any distractions. Turn off your notifications and go to it.
Yep. And
it's probably going to take you as long as you expect, right?
Well, unfortunately, I've already started this once before. It takes longer because you either don't get the person on the phone, or once you do, you got to catch up and make some niceties in order to remind them that we have a relationship. I mean, it's not like call them up and say, hey, bring me in there. You can't do that. So it takes longer than you think. But some of these go back 5 years, some of these contacts. I'm just trying to reestablish and see who's still in business, whether or not, because a lot of them are pre-COVID even. So I need to establish, are they still in business? Have they changed what they're doing? Is it even a viable contact for me? Interestingly, some of the people I've reached out to who I have worked with in the past under CBS have since unfollowed my newsletter, which tells me they're no longer in business because they've been on there for years and years and years. And I reached out and left a message, and then so that without telling me, that tells me,
which is not a bad thing, right?
No. You want to reach the people that you want. And if their life has changed, the circumstances of their life I have one licensee who's told me already that a year from now, she's going to make a really big change, and which means she probably won't be a licensee anymore, which is sad for me because she has a really good business in her area. But, life changes and we get older and we want different things, and, all that needs to be taken into consideration. So, being aware, doing a time study is the best way to figure this out. Am I just busy? Am I wasting time, gratefully wasting time? Or am I actually doing things that further my business towards my goals and what I want to accomplish? This year, we want to double Executive Aaron's client base. So there are specific things, and I've been doing the work for that for the last 3 months. As you know, I've been everywhere talking to people and promoting stuff because we get most of our new clients in March. So I have to really hit it hard in October, November, December, and January. And we'll see if that all worked. Because
the cool thing about it is like you're saying, hey, I want to, this may be too close to home. I want to build a railroad Coachella Valley to Vegas. You can't just sit in your office and think, okay, I want to do this, You've been laying the track.
Right.
And so when it comes to March and people are making decisions of, hey, who's going to take care of my home when I'm gone? you have already laid the tracks that you are the train that's going to take them there.
Right.
So I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah. The lady that called me yesterday actually isn't leaving the desert until April.
Oh, wow.
But she wanted to talk to me about the services. She has somebody now, but she's not happy with them. And she wanted to talk to me about what we offer and what we charge. And she needed a handyman. I've already sent him over there to help her. So I feel confident she'll sign up with us when the time comes. Somebody else in her family referred us. So she already knows the value of our services, which is good. You know, and that's what I'm looking for. All the real estate agents I've talked to, all the mortgage companies, all the people that close deals on new properties, HOAs, all that stuff, hoping it comes to fruition because I've done all the right things, and we'll see if it did. But again, I made a conscious decision to invest time and money into in-person networking, you know, and that's not just busy time.
Yeah, well, you know, there, not to get biblical, but you know, where you sow, so shall you reap, and you have done.
Say
the
that
work.
fast 3 times.
Not going to do it. I'm going to say it once. That's it. So we talked about this next one, which is our last one, is building a focus container for your week instead of a to-do list.
Right.
You know, what's the difference between a to-do list and a focus container? We've talked about what that is like, but we never really talked about a to-do list.
Well, I've got multiple to-do lists over here, and sometimes I don't, you know, I take it out of my brain. I take it out of my brain, I put it on paper so that it's not cluttering up my thought process, because that's how I operate. If I have a whole bunch of things in my head to do, it starts to limit my capacity for new ideas and work and stuff like that. So I take it out of my head, I put it on a piece of paper or type it into a virtual piece of paper. But I often don't look at it for months at a time. And when I go back, all these things are done. Right. So cross off. There is a psychological advantage to crossing off tasks. It's very distinctly, it's well documented. We get some validation from crossing off tasks.
Dopamine shots.
Huh?
They're dopamine shots.
Dopamine shots. That's right.
Dopamine shots. Yep.
So a to-do list is a list of things that you, just like it says, you need to do, but they're not for me, they're not necessarily urgent. If they're urgent, I've already done them or I'm on it already. I don't have to take it out of my brain and set it down. To me, the focus container means, and you'll have to correct me because this is your wording and not mine, so I'm not quite 100%, but a focus container would be set a period of time where I only work on this specific thing, like the phone calls I need to make, and say, okay, Monday is my day for office stuff exclusively. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not doing anything else. I'm going to make phone calls and that's it. I have some of my licensees do that. I just set up an appointment for next Monday because that's her admin day. She's in the office. She doesn't do client stuff. That's her focus container for her. And so I accommodated that. For me, I try to make Mondays and Fridays discretionary, so that if I don't have things to do, I can take time off, or I have the ability to take on things that pop up. You know, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays are my focus containers for other work. Just because at my point in life and in my business, I've earned that right to do that. And I've reduced the amount of decisions I have to make so that I can only have to work that amount of time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that brings us right back to the whole idea of allowing you to be more focused because you're making fewer decisions. So I like that. I you know, to me, the focus container, you know, as you said, a to-do list is like, hey, there's the things I need to get done today. But then my focus container, and I might put that on my calendar, like my electronic calendar, and I'll schedule it on there. But those are different. These are tasks I need to complete. But my focus container is saying, hey, I want to work on my moonshot between 12 and 2 on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. I'm just making it up. All right. Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. I'm working on my moonshot. Great. So at that point, I'm not taking phone calls. I'm answering emails, whatever. That's a different process. So I like how you've defined that.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right about the calendar. I forgot to mention that. First of all, remind me to come back if I forget. The to-do list for me is not a today necessarily to-do list. I rarely do a to-do list for tomorrow. You know what I mean? It's things on there like finish my book and contact this guy about marketing and do blah, blah, blah. These are longer term things that I don't want to forget to do because they're in my head to do. But the calendar is critical because what we put on our calendar, we make a priority. So if you need to go to the gym every day and you put it on your calendar, you're more likely to go because it's scheduled. It's like the podcast. It's every Wednesday. We started at 10 o'clock in the morning, generally on time. Sometimes we jibber jabber before, but generally on time. And I don't miss it, right? How many times have we had to reschedule? Not very many in 50 episodes because it's a priority. And when I have other people want Wednesday stuff, I do it either before or after. Okay. And BNI is always on Tuesday from 7 to 8:30, and it's on my calendar. Even though I'm not thrilled about getting up that early, I go every single week.
You talk about getting up early, but you're already up early.
I know,
so
but that's not the point.
Getting ready, right?
I have to be somewhere. No, I always get ready. It's just the restraint of having to be somewhere, go out in the cold, drive over there. It's not that far even from my house.
Valley, for God's sakes. Yeah, and you're like 6 minutes from there.
I am about 6 minutes. I'm just whining. But you know what I mean? It's on my calendar, so I always do it. My nail appointment is on my calendar. I go every 2 weeks because that's my self-care. That's a period of time for me to have
That's your movie.
That's my movie. I have been known to go to the movies in the middle of the day and come back and work later sometimes, depending on why. If I have my granddaughters here and I want to take them to the movies in the middle of the day, I will, but I'll still get my work done around it. That's a whole other topic about working from home and how to have the discipline for that, because a lot of people really struggle. I see better than it used to be. Again, COVID changed that. People were working at home in the beginning. That was kind of a disaster for people. And there was a lot of abuse of it still. That's why a lot of people are being called back into the office. But those of us who are small business owners professionally and not working for somebody else and being able to work at home, we have learned how to manage our time and avoid the distractions that keep you from being productive. And if you have little kids at home, it's really hard, but you have to figure that out, So focus containers work. I really like it. I like putting them on the calendar and making sure I do them.
This last one, it reminds me of who's the writer? Stephen King.
His is fiction, not friction.
Oh, anyway, sorry. I'm like, what, did I spell something? Okay.
No, you didn't. It's just my sense of humor is warped.
Yeah. But sometimes we do things when we feel like it. And when Stephen King, and again, I'm going to paraphrase this, they said, how do you do your writing? How do you come up with the ideas? He said, I put it on the calendar and I go in my office and this is the time I'm supposed to write. And he said, sometimes I'll sit there and nothing will happen, but I put in the time and I write something, even though it's not something I should do. And so to me, this is like, focus is not something you summon. It's something you schedule, you do. That's the focus container, if you will. Setting boundaries, staying in your lane. And I think there are people out there saying, until the feeling is right. I'm waiting to go to the gym until I really feel. No, you got to get in there and do it.
Just go.
Like it's like when I enjoy watching you when you said, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to start doing speaking engagements. And it's like within 48 hours, you had 2 or 3 speaking engagements. I'm like, damn, that's really good. Excuse my expression. You take action. You don't just say it and then wait for it to come like, oh, it's going to manifest. While I'm not against that, it's like, but you have to lay down the tracks like we talked about before to make things happen. And so by putting it on your calendar, like Stephen King did, that's why he's written so many best-selling books, because It's his job. He made time for it and said, this is a party. This is what I'm going to do. When I go in the office, I'm a writer. When I walk out, I'm taking care of my
Oh,
kids. So it's
sorry.
something that remains when friction is removed is focus. So that's
Well,
my take on that.
yeah, friction is like decisions and unnecessary tasks, and not having an environment to work in that's conducive to working. In this house, we converted one bedroom into an office. I mean, there's not even a bed in here. You can see behind me, I built a credenza, and I've got 2 desks in here, and this is literally an office. In fact, my name is even on the door. The company name is on the door, so I can shut it when I'm done for the day. For those people worried about resale value, all the stuff is removable. The floor goes under everything. But and we have an actual office also because we grew out of my home space. So we have an actual leased office that we use, and I have other people that work in there, but I still work from home because I feel like I'm more productive here. Even the idea of going to that office, then you've got chit chat, then there's people in there, then you get distracted. Here I can just turn the TV on something that is benign for me, so I have background noise, and then just work, and I can stay in my head, and I can get things accomplished, and I can deal with. Now, I do pay too much attention to email probably, but I'm in a business that needs it because I get emergency situations and my people need help with that sometimes, and so I have to keep an eye on it. So I don't let email distract me too much. I have moved all of the ads and sales stuff into a different non-work place so that I don't get distracted by that. Although somehow it breeds in the middle of the night. I don't know how it does that. But, I can stay focused here much better for me because, again, there's no distractions for me. And that doesn't mean I don't throw in a load of laundry now and again. I have learned to balance it.
Yeah.
And not let that take me away from this completely. I'm a human being like everybody else, like probably 99% of the small business owners around the country. I'm doing the same thing you guys are. The difference between me and you is, and why we're doing this podcast, is because we've made all the mistakes. We've learned the hard way. We've been 20 years in, we've been all the steps along. You remember when I used to say that building a business is like pushing a train up a hill? You were talking about tracks. It's like pushing a train up a freaking hill. Okay. And then it eventually you hit the crest and it goes over, and they call that the tipping point. There's a book called The Tipping Point, talks all about that. It's a good book.
Malcolm Gladwell.
Is that who it is? I got one
Yep.
over there. I don't even know. But then the train runs down the other side. You get the momentum built up. You hit that tipping point. You've got enough clients. You've got not enough, but you've got enough that you have consistent revenue, and you've actually become a success, but you don't even realize it yet. Quite often, I still don't always feel like a success. But in hindsight, looking at how many dollars I put into the local community, how many vendors I keep employed, how many employees I keep employed, there's no argument that we're not a success, right? And that comes down to removing, let me say it a different way. We're a bigger success post-COVID than we were pre-COVID. And the bigger success post-COVID is due to 2 things. One is society's adaptation to outsource more things, like we talked on the last podcast, and my ability to release the friction or those decisions that do not need me. Yeah. Right. I've always had policies and procedures. People always did them, but I was micromanaging them. It isn't necessary. You shouldn't do it. It's a bad practice. Leaders don't micromanage. So auditing and checking the exceptions, the outliers to those processes. That's one of the things my software has, by the way, is everything's in there by management by exception. So I can look at just the exceptions and know if my people are doing their job or not. I don't have to look at every single piece of data.
Yeah.
Right. So those are the 2 things that allowed us to grow exponentially and get healthier and be faster. And we can teach that to others, which is part of the reason for this podcast, and then also for my coaching stuff. So life is good and fun. And we're back to the 5-day. Don't you want to put something up there for yourself? You're always putting up my stuff. I appreciate that. But
No, it's 5-day. I don't have anything to show or tell. So talk about your 5-day, because I think if somebody out there is having some challenges with focus, with being distracted, I think the 5-day freedom challenge could be a great avenue for them, because it's 5 days one-on-one with Leslie. You're not in a group. There's no charge. There's no expectations of what, that you have to buy something unless it's appropriate at the end. She'll mention it. But if not, hey, it's just a really good way to say, hey, I need a checkup from the neck up. And there's no one better than Leslie to do that with you. And that's called the 5-day freedom challenge. And the link is on the screen. So, sign up for that. She doesn't have a lot of spaces. So I don't think you only do a couple a week.
I do two a week maximum.
2 a week. Yeah. And, she says they're about an hour long, but in her last one, she said that she's guilty of going longer than an hour.
I do sometimes.
Yeah. So in other words, she over delivers what she's expected, what she says. So it's a 5-day freedom challenge. And I know from talking to Leslie, she absolutely loves doing this because she learns so much from people. And there's no greater joy for somebody like her to actually help people. And they say, wow, you have made such a difference in my life.
Yeah, we actually have video testimonials and a couple of written testimonials of other people that have done the 5-day challenge. And some of these people are people that have known me for a long time, but didn't really work with me one-on-one like that. And so their comments touch my heart, because really and truly, if I can help somebody even learn one thing about themselves that can make their business better, identify one process change, one focus change, any of that stuff, oh my God, it's exhilarating for me. I used to teach college at Cal State Northridge for a couple of years, and to see the light go on in somebody's eyes when you can convey a concept is miraculous, because everybody learns differently and everybody has different problems. And so being able to on the fly come up with a way to help somebody just really is my favorite thing to do. And Jeff is scrolling right now the sign up sheet for the 5-day challenge. It's on my website. It's it's conciergebusinesssolutions.com and then / the 5-day freedom challenge. And there's a hyphen between each of those. And 5 is just the number 5, by the way, if you're listening on, there's 2 of the testimonials right there. I think we have another one too. I don't know where it is though, but still,
it's not on there. It's for your software.
Oh, the testimony for my software. That's right. So, it's really a fun thing to do for you and for me. And, what I'm really excited about is that everybody does their homework. I give them homework every day, just minor stuff to help them gain clarity. And they always do it. And
what's beautiful of that is, if I were in a group of 10 or 15 or 50 people, I can hide and not do that in the group. But when it's one-on-one, hey, I can't hide because I'm the only one there, right?
Yeah. And they're really excited. They get very excited because sometimes things are real obvious, but not to them. We all suffer with that. I do it for you. You do it for me. We all sometimes have a forest in the trees problem. And so having another set of eyes is very helpful. Oh, there's my AI photo. That's such a nice photo. Everybody's doing that these days. I see them all the time on people's websites.
Yeah. So anyway, sign up for that and change or impact your 2026. Like Leslie said, she's going to double her business this year.
That's my goal.
What would that look like for you? Well, sometimes it's just having that hand up, not a hand out, and realizing, as we said before, it's you being like Stephen King and saying, hey, I make that container for myself and I go and do it every day. And because I do that, just like Leslie, she's going to have a phenomenal year because she has been building the track. She hasn't just been talking about it. She's been absolutely doing it. If you're thinking about making your life better and you're not doing anything, and you wake up 12 months from now and say, boy, nothing seems to change, because you didn't do anything different. Do something different. Sign up now for the 5-day Freedom Challenge. The link is on the screen. And with that, Leslie, anything else before we wrap things up?
No, I think we covered this topic pretty well.
I love it. Thank you so much. And thanks everybody for joining us. Please invite one person you know to check it out. That's all I ask is invite one person that that you know said, hey, I got something out of this. It was valuable and I want to share it with you. So Leslie, thank you again so much for a great show. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you next week on the Twisted, Bent, and Exhausted Entrepreneur Podcast.
Hey, did you notice I said entrepreneur right the last one? I did that good.
See, it's the reps you're putting in. The reps you're putting in. You have to stop. You have to drop that moniker of like, oh, I can't say it. Yes, you can.
Muscle memory.
That's it.
All right, you guys. All right. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.